is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering WestWorld, Season 1, Episode 6, The Adversary. In this episode, Teddy goes buck wild, and Maeve goes buck naked? I was trying to make something happen there. That didn't work.
I am disappointed in how that turned out.
Welcome to Unspoiled.
I had high hopes for that intro.
Yeah, I really didn't think that one through.
Normally I would give you like a good effort though, but no, you don't even get that.
There was no effort on that. Yeah, welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
And this episode was bananas. This one, there's a lot happening here. And I know I say that in every episode, but this one really like cranked it up.
So much happened, man. And you know what was great is this was episode filled with lots of little important things. Mm-hmm. You know, there weren't a lot of big scenes except the Teddy scene. Everything else was quiet, you know. But it was still really huge shit. Oh,
man.
Poor Turner Freeze on my part. Apologies.
Yeah, there's like, because when I watched this the first time, I don't feel like I fully absorbed how important a lot of this was. And the second time I watched it tonight, something came over me today where I felt like exhausted in this way that was really like, you know, when you like lay down and you don't move at all or shift position in any way for like a straight hour because you're that tired.
Yep.
I laid down and I was like, oh, this is where I live now. And I asked Owen to get me my laptop because I wasn't even interested in moving to the couch. And I never watch shows in bed ever. But it actually worked out really well because I put the laptop on my chest and it was a huge picture right in front of my face with no distractions whatsoever and me not moving a muscle, not getting up to pee, not checking my phone.
Yeah.
And I think that was the perfect way to watch this. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to be like fully involved when you watch these episodes. Yeah. I had wanted to watch this one a second time, but I didn't get a chance to. So I'm glad that you did. Yeah.
I could tell the first time that I had missed some things here and there, so I'm glad I went back, but I also I missed more than I even thought.
Right. Now, have you rewatched any of the other ones?
Since recording on them?
Like, it all, yeah.
I mean, I've watched every single one of them twice before we record, but I have not gone back and rewatched them since we've recorded on them.
All right. Well, let's get started, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. So Maeve wakes up and gets dressed, is unfazed by a shootout happening in the street behind her.
Doesn't even stop to look.
Nope. Doesn't even like flinch. It's almost like that shootout maybe happens every morning and she has started to like really, really remember and internalize the things that happen all the time to the point that it's just not, you know?
Yep.
So Clementine comes down the stairs when she gets in and they are just chatting about, you know, how sometimes guys just, you know, want to chat. Not exactly. They always want to fuck, apparently. But it's much less about that at times.
Right.
And this dude comes in, and Clementine is about to take him on. And Maeve stops her and is like, no, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this one.
You go upstairs and fix your face.
Yeah.
And so we had seen in the last episode that Maeve was showing up in the sort of lab fixer-upper tune-up shop or the auto body shop or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we had noticed that she was there a couple of times, but had you given any thought to how she was getting there, what she was doing?
Because I thought that it was probably going to be something like this, because I don't think that they can hurt themselves. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if she's able to get around that by this point or not, but I would also figure that they'd maybe note if that was what was happening. Like there might be something that gives it away in their like brain pattern. Right. I don't know.
We saw her shove a knife into her gut.
But his hand was on it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know if that's like a loophole. Okay. You know? So yeah, she basically like sees this dude and can tell that he is a guy who could get violent. And then takes him upstairs and tries to bait him. Yep. And it doesn't work as well as I expected, because like he gets really rough, but she has to physically take his hand and put it on her throat and be like, go ahead. Yeah. Before he starts to like really go all out. Yeah. But he does. Like not every man would, you know. Yeah. So she does realize that he is someone who not just the insulting, but has a propensity to be into this sort of thing that she needs him to do. Yeah. Because once she gives him, like you said, the go ahead, he goes ahead. Yeah. She passes out and then dies and pops up in the ward again and says, where were we? So it's like they've been talking and she keeps getting sent back and then she keeps killing herself and coming back again. And seems to remember the conversation that they had last time. So either the wipe is not doing anything at all anymore, or he has like kind of come in on this and is not wiping her the way that he had been. But I always wonder when something happens to her, what happens to the brothel for the rest of the day? You know what I mean? Like, just does Clementine, is she in charge after that? I don't know. I wonder about it. Yeah. We know that they can program Clementine when Maeve is out of commission. Right. They just go in and set Clementine to be in charge. Whether that's happening each time, I don't know. Yeah. It would seem that, whoever, when they monitor what's going on with the host, that someone would be like, oh, Maeve's broke again, and just hit a button and Clementine's in charge. But also, it probably runs okay without her there. Yeah, I was about to say how hard could it be, and that's really belittling. I don't mean that. But, for one day, yeah, I'm sure it can get by. And we're just talking, a matter of hours. Yeah. So we go from her, waking up and being like, all right, where were we, to the conversation with Elsie and Bernard. Right. And this conversation is picking up right where we left off as well. Where were we? I love the fact that she's like, yeah, I really thought that it might be you. And then she's like, but that would have been done by now. Right. You had plenty of time and opportunities. This just doesn't. And he's like, yeah, thanks. Okay. So, and the thing is that whoever's inserting these has to work there. So whoever is doing this is somebody that's on the inside. And she's trying to kind of assess what this would mean for their department. Right. And Bernard, because she says could be a glass half full or glass half empty, and he says, we're engineers, the glass is made to the wrong specifications. That's a really good line. I really like that. Yeah. And she says that the main thing that they could figure out is who he was sending it to, but they would have to find the geocache of his hike up the mountain, and they can't get access to that. And he's like, yes, we can. He's an older model, And the newer system can't read it, but it's there if I went in and found it.
Right.
But that means that I have to go downstairs. And then he goes to the scariest place on planet Earth.
Until you see where Elsie ends up. Which
True.
I think is even scarier.
This, though, like, there is something about corporate feeling buildings with flickering lights that just get to me. There's a moment in Lost where you're looking down a hallway and there's a light flickering and the light's kind of greenish and the hallway is like cement. There's something about that image that stuck with me, so it scared the shit out of me the first time. And I just couldn't shake it. And I think it's something almost like that puts me in mind of hospitals. And I have always been the kind of person that, like, ghosts and things are spooky. The idea of, like, what, you know, poltergeists and stuff. But ghosts that were subjected to horrific human suffering before they died, and probably at the hands of people who maybe thought they were doing the right thing at the time, is, like, one of the most upsetting, terrifying things to me. So haunted hospitals and haunted, like, old mental hospitals, especially. Right.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say. When you talk about, like, mental hospitals and all the, like, torturous stuff that would go on, and then you think about any kind of ghost or spirit kind of haunting that takes place in a place like that is infinitely creepy and so upsetting.
There's a place that Owen's company cleans. They do the floors and stuff there. And it's a community center. And it used to be a mental hospital.
Well, see, no, it shouldn't be anything. It should be just demolished. Right?
Who makes that shit into a community center? And, like, he didn't know that it used to be a mental hospital. He wasn't aware of that. But he had 2 different employees tell him that they wanted to be moved. Because they kept seeing shit. And he doesn't believe in that. So he was just kind of like, all right, whatever. And then he found out that it had used to be. And he kind of was like, huh. And it didn't really, like, make him believe. But it definitely, you know, it just makes you go, well. Yeah. And then there was this one room where there were, like, folded tables that were stacked against a wall, almost like, you know how bleachers that fold up against the wall in, like, gymnasiums, the old style ones. It was kind of like that, and they had to move them to get to the edges of the wall to do the floor all the way up to the edge. So they moved everything out, and there were all of these eye bolts in the floor.
There were, like, what in the floor?
Eye bolts. You know, the bolts, like, that get screwed into the floor that are, like, round so that you can hook a chain through them? Oh. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And they weren't, like, anything to do with the tables or anything. Like, it was just, they were left over. Oh, they were clearly really old. No. And he was like, yeah, that more than the ghost thing, that fucked him up. Like, I had to go pick him up that night, and he was like, yeah, you know what we found? And I was like, Jesus, get me away from this place. I don't even want to be in the parking lot picking you up. So anyway, where Bernard is scary.
And for such a supposedly old, in disuse part of the building, once he gets to the actual computer part, it's pretty snazzy.
It's working fine. Right? He turns that shit on. It's working better than my computer did tonight.
And he goes, you know, and finds the woodcutter and, you know, finds out where he was to get his coordinates and all that stuff for Elsie. And he's getting ready to be like, okay, I'm done. And the computer's like, no, you're not. Yeah. Because look what I found over here. There are 5 more anomalies.
This is really reminiscent of a scene in the Jurassic Park book. Where it's a different thing in the movie, but in the book, they have this system to count how many dinosaurs are in the park to make sure that none have escaped. And so they keep looking for the same number because what they're worried about is an escape in which the system would register fewer than what they originally had. They never, ever considered that they'd be able to breed. So when somebody's like, well, maybe ask it to look for more, than what you're checking for. They do that, and the number starts to climb. And it climbs by like 40 more in the park than is supposed to be there, and they all start flipping out. And I was like, yeah, I see you over here, Crichton, doing that same shit. It's still effective, though. It still works.
And so what did you think when you saw that there were 5 more anomalies? What did you think it would be?
I figured that it was going to have to be Dolores and Maeve and I don't know who else.
Okay.
And, you know, if it is, and it seems like it would have to be because it seems to be how she talks later about how there's a, something that's sending a signal, and I can't, she uses a specific word, but I'll see it later once we get to that part.
Yeah, I think is that she calls it bicameral?
That's not the word that I was thinking of, but yeah, whatever it is that they have to be a certain model in order to receive that signal properly. So I feel like, you know, Dolores is one of the originals, so that just seems right.
Yeah, she says it's the original ones, I think.
Right. So that's what I'm figuring. But then there's the ones that fucking what's-his-face has.
Well, those...
And I don't know if those would even be on, like, they seem to be his private thing. Like, would he let them even show up for that computer? I feel like that's what Bernard accepted was the anomaly.
Well, he goes right to that place, though. Like, the screen tells him where the anomalies are.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And then he goes later, Bernard goes to this Sector 17 to see what's down there.
So, okay, because I feel like that's... I don't feel like
what? No, tell me, what?
I don't feel like it's right. But that's what the computer's saying to him. Somebody's fucking with things, so you can't be trusting anything. It's pretty much it. Somebody was on that computer 10 minutes ago.
So... we leave Bernard looking at the screen, and we show up in this town with the fountain. Mm-hmm. And it's Ford walking through with his crew of people.
I love that you see that guy patching the wall.
Yeah.
The Man in Black had shot through. Oh, and there was somebody on Twitter mentioned, or maybe it was on Facebook. Sorry, whoever you are, but it was a while ago now, that when the Man in Black shot through that wall, it wasn't the same gun. Like, he stopped and loaded a special bullet into his gun in order to get through the wall. Oh. So, like, he's just done this so many times that he knows, like, oh, I'm going to need certain ammo to get this. So, I got it. No worries. But I like that detail.
Yeah, I don't think I even noticed that it was a different gun.
I don't think it's a different gun.
Oh, I mean a different
bullet.
A different bullet, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. The show is there's so many things that I still know I've missed a ton of shit. So yeah, he's talking about his new narrative and where the canyon's going to stop, and they're like, well, we're going to have to, take all this down. Mm-hmm. And Ford's like, no, we'll keep it. We'll just, stop the narrative before we get to the town. And as he walks by a table, there's the maze is engraved on the table.
Yeah, and he looks at that like he didn't notice it before, or like that didn't used to be there. Like, he's got a concern,
right? As
much concern as he ever is willing to express publicly,
right?
To anyone.
He definitely makes a face, and then he immediately goes to an office and pulls out an old notebook and sees it in there.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right? What does it mean?
I love everybody having stopped in this town, like that little moment.
I love it too.
When they walk through.
Before you even see him walk in, everybody just freezes.
Yeah.
And then when he's done, he's just like, he doesn't say resume, but he gives them a voice command.
He says carry on.
Carry on, that's right. Yeah, that's even better. It's so like casually sort of in charge, just I don't know, I love it. It's so much better than just saying like resume or come back online or whatever.
It's more human.
It's human,
like,
but it's
like he came in and interrupted a class and then was like, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it's human, but it's also like from a position of authority, but like casual authority. Like I don't even have to be bombastic about it, Right. Just carry on. I might just start telling that to people now. And so then we see Teddy and the Man in Black. And
listen, I'm starting to get real suspicious about Man in Black because he's got
what?
These friggin' gloves on all the time. And I'm like, do you have leprosy? Like, what's happening? Why are you covering your hands? There's got to be something happening under those gloves. Does he have robot hands?
Oh my God. How awesome would it be if he had robot hands?
What if just his head is human? And he just managed to like graft on all these other pieces as like his body died of cancer until he's just got...
The park's got the parts laying around.
The park has got the parts to make his hands look normal too. So why would he wear gloves then either?
Oh, well.
That doesn't make any sense.
Maybe he's hiding robot hands.
Maybe he's got like machine gun fingers.
Oh my God. Then why isn't he using them things to shoot up people?
Maybe there's only like one bullet each.
Oh
and
my
they're
God.
really, really accurate. And it's like the piece de resistance. I got nothing. I don't know why.
I think it's really interesting that you've noticed the gloves though.
I noticed them before,
yeah,
but I guess
them.
I kept thinking that they were going to come off at some point, and they just haven't at all this whole time. And, man, probably's taking a piss and taking a shit a couple times. Like, you need to be washing your hands, buddy.
I don't think I noticed the gloves until someone mentioned it. And then I could not stop looking and checking for the gloves in every scene.
Well, and they look so good. That's part of why I noticed them initially. It's just that they are fitted so perfectly, and they work with his whole look so well.
That's why I didn't pay attention, because it really just goes with the entire look. I mean, it would be like saying, we never see him take his hat off. But there's something about the gloves that did strike people, and people started to talk about it.
It'd be so weird if, like, what if his hands are black? What if he, like, took a black host's hands? So they're human, but they just don't match. And
I
so
was
that
thinking like you meant like black, like, dead or something, but you just mean a black host.
Yeah. Like,
it's like
all of his parts don't match.
It's like when someone gets a car door replaced, but it's like it's from a different color car.
Exactly. And his feet are like Hispanic.
Oh my God.
So they're just kind of caramel. Something like this. I don't know. Because he's just covered all the time. All you ever see is the neck up. Well, not even the neck up. Between the neck and the crown of the head. Even the crown of the head is usually covered by his hat. So, like, what's going on up there? Does he have his scalp? Is he trying to take scalp so he can fix his own scalp? Oh, my God.
This whole thing is going way off the rails now.
Oh, God. I just really liked his hair. I don't like my hair anymore.
So
anyway, they're heading towards Pariah now.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out the best way to go, and Teddy knows sort of a pass that you can get through, but they have to go through this sort of troop that's stationed down in the canyon where they kind of have to ride through. And the Man in Black is like, I don't know if we can do that. Like, there's a lot of guys down there.
Yeah.
And Teddy is like, fuck those guys.
Teddy's basically like, well, stay here then.
I gotta go get Dolores. I don't know what you're doing.
I really love the Man in Black, like, looks at him in that moment like, well, shit.
Yeah, he's like, Ford must have gave you a little extra vinegar. And then we're back to Maeve and Felix. And this is a fun scene for me. I mean, it's not fun where it ends up going, but he's just like, he's so terrified and fascinated and probably attracted to Maeve. She has all this power over him.
Yeah.
So what did you think about this part?
Well, my favorite thing is like when she asks him, "You're like them," and he says, "Yeah, I'm human," and she says, "How do you know?"
Mm-hmm.
And he blinks and gets a look like, "What do you mean? How do I know? Of course I know."
Right.
And I'm like, "Dude, but how? But how do you know?"
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, she thought she was human.
Yeah. He doesn't puzzle over that for long enough, and I get that like maybe there isn't time. But I feel like that should shake him more than it seems to have.
Well, yes and no. I mean, like, I agree with you, but then I also don't. Because I feel like if anyone were to question your humanity, you would be like, what do you mean? Of course I'm human.
I don't think I would be.
But then if you...
this is something, like, for somebody who can be really arrogant and really, like, this is the way it is, shut the fuck up. If you ask me a point-blank question, is this true? There are remarkably few times that I will answer with certainty, yes, this is absolutely true. And I mean that in terms of, like, things that have an absolute answer, not like a social thing. Like that's something that you can answer in like, well, in circumstances where blah, 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 where it's like, you know, there are variables and that is different. Something like, are you human? I really, just you asking me that would make me stop and like think for 10 full minutes before I go, I believe I am. And is that enough? Like that's the kind of there were a couple of other things on on other shows and things that I've seen where people are asked things and they answer so swiftly, and as an audience member I was still sitting there going, is it though? Like to myself, these big questions I'm not comfortable with saying anything.
Oh, okay.
You know, we just don't know jack shit about what really is going on ever.
Right.
We really don't, you know? So
I wonder if you live in the world that Felix lives in, where there are things like the hosts that exist that, and you work with them all the time, if that makes a person become even more certain that they are in fact human in relation to these things that they work on.
I would think that would make it more unsure and unclear, because you can watch hundreds of people thinking they're human that aren't every day.
Right. So that was my initial when I said yes and no, because I feel like it can go either way. You can either become more certain of your humanity in comparison to the things you work on, or you could forever be wondering if you are also just like the things that you work on. Like, how would you truly ever know?
Yeah.
And I think
guess that's like when it comes down to like the kind of control you like to have.
Right. And that's the next thing is, if you're faced with that, it really depends on what kind of person you are as an individual. Like, you might hold steadfastly to your human because that just is way more comfortable than facing the fact that you don't really know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you might just can tell yourself. Or, you know, if he's not human, he's not going to know, to Maeve's point. So, of course, he's going to say, yes, of course I'm human.
Right. And that's part of what raised my hackles, was how quickly he says, yes, of course, and then moves on. And I was like, was that programming right there that made you just drop that shit right away?
So you just kind of go around in circles and circles, and, you know, it's really fucking hard to say.
Right.
So Maeve wants to see the rest of this world. He's trying to explain to her how it works, you know. And understandably so, it all sounds like nonsense to her.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, he even says at one point, they can make you forget, and then he says, well, I guess not you. And she sort of smiles at that, like, damn fucking right, not me.
Yeah.
But
so
he has to prove to her later that, like, you think you're an exception, but you're not as much of an exception as you seem to believe you are.
He shows her responses as they're happening on his little tablet.
Yeah.
And he sees that shit. He breaks Maeve.
I found this so interesting, the whole way that this software is set up.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see on the options of different words that she could choose to mean something really similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it says the pair what with me, when she looks at that, the pair part is covered by her hair, so you don't see the other options. But the what, it says who, when, what, him, her, them, that, this, the, it, to, off.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a bunch of potential sentences there. And then with is pair, what, to, and, where, with, when, but, according, whenever, without, from, now, then, which I find really interesting. So there's like a locational thing. Mm-hmm. There's a time thing. Mm-hmm. There's a judgment thing. Like, there's all kinds of different, and then the me is her, him, them, it, that, me, this, the, two, three, who, anything. And then there's just a question mark
right
for the next one.
So we get to see how they build their conversation.
Yeah.
And how it changes depending on what the response is from whoever she's, engaging with.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a little graph where it's like script and then improvise.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that's right.
I'm trying to like go in so that I can pause on it so that we can see it again, because I want to see what that one does too, because it's a little different. Oh yeah. So the one, I love that it says, when I'm being fucked with, the being, there's the options for upset, passing, trying, hoping, walking, treated. Like, such weird variations,
I'm trying to see where when she starts to say, she's reading what she's saying as she's saying it. Mm-hmm. And then I think she starts to freeze on like, I can't.
Yeah. She says it can't.
It can't.
I can't. It can't. It can't. And that's like, yeah, it's not possible is how that whole thing like starts.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing scene.
And then she just like kind of looks up into the middle distance and stops.
Yep. And she kind of like goes down or whatever, but her face as this is all happening, her face this whole episode, Thandie Newton just did a million things just with her fucking face.
Yep.
But this look on her face when she kind of powers down is like so confused.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a weird thing because it's like puzzlement and just not knowing what the fuck is happening, but it's also like really static, because she's supposed to be like in down mode or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the fact that she can hold that expression but just be kind of dead with it is really, just really, oh shit, my lights just flickered.
No.
Oh my God, this fucking snow, you guys. The snow
it's so crazy to me that you're getting snow right now.
That was not forecasted. They didn't tell me it was going to fucking snow. Ugh. But anyway, so then we see Bernard coming to see Theresa. And
this killed me a little bit.
Can I just say for a second? Wait, is this the scene where she has... Oh, no, that's later. There's a scene later in the episode where she has like a tray of cigarettes.
Yeah.
And all I could think was, why am I not smoking that way?
With a tray?
Where is my silver tray for my cigarettes?
You need to live your life, lady.
I am just like smoking out of a fucking box like a goddamn Neanderthal.
You know what you know where to go to find that kind of shit? Thrift stores.
I used to have an amazing silver and black cigarette holder.
Oh my God.
That I carried my cigarettes in. And it came with a silver lighter that you could slide in and out of it. Ooh. It was the best thing ever. And I left it in the break room when I worked at the hotel in Charlotte. And somebody stole it. A fellow employee stole it.
That sucks.
Yeah, and I left signs, and I was like, Steve gave it to me when we first started dating, and I was heartbroken. That's
such a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
And the thing that gets me about stuff like that is you're going to be smoking at work, so you can't use the thing that is awesome for smoking in the place where you would smoke most because you're afraid someone's going to see that you have the thing that you stole. So what's the fucking point?
Yeah, I was so fucking mad.
It's not like stealing a DVD player where you go home and use that shit by yourself and nobody's going to know. Like, it's like stealing a cell phone at work and then not being able to use your phone. Like... We wouldn't do it. Except that everybody's got the same phone, but it's fine.
So Bernard goes to talk to Theresa.
And she dumps his ass.
Yeah, she's like, Ford knows that we're fucking. Mm-hmm. And Bernard's like, that's not a problem. And she's, it kind of is a problem.
Yeah, he of course a dude would not think this was a problem. And I don't know what kind of advancements we've made in the social department in this world in the future, but, I'm going to guess that there's a point where it's just... And it's interesting because it didn't occur to me when Ford told her that he knew that he would be forcing her hand on this point.
Right.
But basically, Ford, let her know that he has something he can use on her. And I don't know if he wanted her to dump Bernard, but I feel like he's got to know her well enough to know that she would.
Right.
Once he tells her that he knows.
But once she dumps Bernard, you think that removes the leverage that Ford has. Mm-hmm. At least it appears to us that's what Theresa's thinking.
I think she thinks so. I don't think that's true.
But I feel like Ford knowing that it even happened is enough.
Yeah, I think that the thing with Ford is the whole conversation with Theresa was him showing her that he's a step ahead of her on everything. Yeah. So her dumping him is just her trying to scramble to get back some power, and it's too fucking late, I mean... She's just trying to, keep the damage from reaching the board,
right,
I guess.
Right, he knows what she's doing now with Bernard. He knew enough to pick the same table that she was at when she was a kid. Ford, it was a full power display to Theresa. And the dumping of Bernard seems very desperate and, like you said, like a scramble to regain some kind of footing.
I just can't, I want Theresa to be better, I guess. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how I want her to handle this.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like the way that she played this is so predictable that it's the wrong move.
Right. It's interesting that this episode is titled The Adversary. Right? Because you have Ford and Theresa kind of being positioned as adversaries. We know Sizemore considers himself an adversary of Ford.
God.
Someone he needs to replace, someone that has humiliated him. And then, of course, later in the episode, we get inklings that there's an even greater adversary. But anywho.
Dun, dun, dun. Also, I'm really just annoyed at how great Maeve's skin is. Every time they, go in on a close-up of her face, I know she's wearing makeup. I'm aware of that. But I think this woman is probably about 10 years older than me. And her skin is so much better than mine. Yeah. It's not fair.
I think I think she's my age. So yeah, I guess she is about 10 years. She's just fucking beautiful, and all of her is unfair, if you ask me.
It's really mean.
And then they have Tessa Thompson rolling into this episode also being gorgeous, and I didn't need that.
Oh my God. Her friggin' stomach. I used to have a stomach like that, taut.
Yeah,
I had the kind of stomach
too.
that everybody would be like, you should get your belly button pierced. You have the perfect stomach for a belly button ring.
Me too.
I'm so fucking glad I didn't
do
that shit.
Listen, the 90s tried to get me. They tried. The 90s were like, girl, get your belly button pierced. And I almost did, but I chickened out, and instead I got my tongue pierced, and it was a wise decision.
Tongue piercing. I couldn't do that one either.
I had it for years.
Piercings are not my jam, really.
I had it for like, Jesus Christ, I must have had my tongue pierced for about 12 or 13 years. I just took it out one day in a fit of rage. And when I got it done, I mean, real quick story, I won't bore you guys, but when I got my tongue pierced, I lived in South Carolina at the time, and piercing was illegal then.
Oh.
So we had to drive across the state line into North Carolina, and I got my tongue pierced, and you're supposed to be really careful about what you eat, and, rinse your mouth out with Listerine and all this kind of shit, whatever. And you're not supposed to drink. Of course, I got shit-faced the night I got my tongue pierced. And
I mean, if I'm going to get another piercing like of that scale, I better be shit-faced when I do it.
And so I went out, I got shit-faced, and I broke my glasses.
Oh,
and
God.
I was a cocktail waitress at this giant nightclub at the time. So I showed up for work. I couldn't see really. My eyes weren't as bad as they are now, but I couldn't really see. And my tongue was swollen, because when you get your tongue pierced, it swells, and you can't talk. So I couldn't see, and I couldn't talk.
Oh, my God. You would be like the dream girl of some ugly, shitty dude. Where you can't talk back or say anything, and you can't see what a fucking scumbag, gross man he is. He's like, ha-ha, I found the one for me tonight.
Oh, God, the 90s. But, so, Felix takes Maeve on a tour.
Yeah, this is some upsetting shit, man. Somehow, them hosing everybody off is way more upsetting this time than it was the first time.
Yeah, it continues to be the worst.
I don't know if it's because there's fewer people in there. So the way because before, when it was almost full, they have the bodies propped up in a human-like way, where they're like sitting against the wall a little bit, but there are not as many of them this time. And so they're sprawled out in these much more almost like ragdoll type ways that are just, they really got to me with that. I did not like it.
And this is I feel like this is a much slower sort of, wander through. So the camera really lingers, because with the first time we saw it, in both times it's kind of like with Maeve, right? So the first time she's like so disoriented, and she's in a panic, and she's running, so everything is like really quick,
right?
Quick shots of this, of that. But this is a slow walk, a very deliberate taking everything in, and so you really see what they're doing with the bodies and how many are in there and how they're lying. And also she sees just scenes that look very familiar to her. There's like a bunch of guys at a poker table getting ready to fight. There's like girls making out, animals being sort of walked around or trained or whatever. And again, her fucking face as she's walking, because Felix is doing this thing where he's got to kind of pretend like he's just escorting her through, no big deal.
Right.
So she can't really talk and react to what she's seeing. So it's just kind of like her eyes getting wider and wider.
It's interesting too, because almost everywhere the hosts are naked. So the fact that she's wearing clothing, you would think would attract attention. But
I thought the same thing.
I don't know if it's because where they wind up going, they're wearing clothes. Like when they get up to the part where they're like writing the scenes and.
Yeah, when they get up to design.
Yeah, those hosts are wearing clothes. So maybe she looks like she fits in up there.
Yeah. This whole thing too, because the way Felix is dressed seems like he shouldn't even have one of those little pads.
Right.
But everybody is just, it seems, really focused on their work. No one really reacts to them throughout any of this.
No.
They go pretty much completely undeterred. And then they get up to where she sees the sort of big screen TV. And yeah, this happened.
That, like, can you imagine this?
Not even a little bit.
You have a dream, this weird recurring dream, and then you see that exact shit played on a giant screen as an ad somewhere. Mm-hmm. I would crack completely.
Yeah.
Like, forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have had things happen in life that were very much like dreams that I've had. And they weren't even exact. But that was enough to make me stop and kind of freak out for a second.
Right.
I can't imagine if it's not only the events happening are the same, but you're seeing images that are identical to the images that were in your mind. Yeah. That's just too much. No, sir.
She's watching this screen and her body kind of like tenses up and then she's like shaking. Mm-hmm. And her eyes are just, going nuts. And I can't think of even an example of my real life that comes anywhere close to what this scene must be like. And she says, how did you get them? Once they're back down in the lab, how'd you get my dreams? And he's just like, oh no, those aren't dreams.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I kind of had thought they would have covered this already, that there's more than one build, but they, there's so much to talk about here that they haven't even gotten to that yet. And, the kind of like bond that she clearly had with her daughter and the fact that they could just take that, that's just horrifying.
Yeah.
And make her forget, that's the other thing, that even though it's out of your control, there's no way you don't feel guilt over that anyway.
I mean, she must, the things that she must be thinking, what else was part of our life, how did we get separated? Is this little girl still in the park somewhere, Yeah, so... And then Sylvester walks in this very, like, tense, emotional kind of trying to get Maeve to understand about
this
previous
actor
bills.
Who plays Sylvester, he's good because I hate Sylvester so deeply and with so much of who I am as, like, a fundamental... Like, the foundations of me hate him and everything about him so much that it's like my entire body reacts in rejection when he shows up. Like, all the way he walks, the way he holds his face, the way that he touches her. And I love how she freezes and acts like she's just whatever. It's him and his, like, comb over thing he's trying to do. And the snotty, like, I didn't say anything because we're friends. No, you're not, you piece of shit. You don't have friends. And I think you know that, and that's why you'd call somebody like him a friend, because you don't have any.
Right. And you think that you're being a friend because you don't know what that word means.
Yep. So, Maeve comes after him with a scalpel, and it's pretty rad, and I loved it.
Yeah. I was on board.
And he's all like, you can't hurt me. And she's like, can't I?
Can I, though?
Basically, it's, you want to find out if I can? Are you going to bet your life on it?
Yeah, I kind of wanted him to test her.
I did, too.
Just so we can get the satisfaction of her slitting his throat.
Like, that's the one thing I'm not sure. Could she? Because she has overridden a lot, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah. I'm not sure how far she can go. So part of me was glad he didn't test her because I wasn't 100% on whether or not she'd be able to. I think she would, but...
I like how she implies that her and Felix have been working on some things already.
Oh my God, I love it. She basically tries to be like, I'm his maniacal, murderous pet. Not that she just woke up by herself, but that, like, oh yeah, he's been creating this whole other thing. And I'm just like, oh shit.
And when he walks in the room too, he's just like, "Oh, you're so obsessed with this." And what does he say? Is she like your new hentai?
Oh my God! Yeah.
Which I only vaguely understand that reference. I feel like that's a anime sex style kind of thing.
You know what? You just about got it right there.
Oh, well, look at me go.
Hentai is anime porn, basically.
Oh.
And it's real upsetting.
No, is it right?
There's this, like, I've watched a lot of different types of it because I've always been, like, weirdly fascinated with the whole concept of, like, cartoon porn and, like, how, really? You know, like, as a kid, I was in, do you remember Tommy K's? Did you have those? Tommy K videos? Anybody in the Connecticut, Jersey maybe area probably knows what I'm talking about. Tommy K's had a porn section that was like screened off, but right before it there were some videos that really should have been in there and weren't. And there were a few anime, and they were tentacle porn anime. And I remember
tentacle porn?
Yeah, it's the hentai that is a tentacle monster that fucks the girl with its tentacles.
No.
Yeah, so she's basically like getting
every
orifice with tentacles. Yeah, it's a hugely popular category.
Why?
Because it's like a simultaneous like humiliation for the girl, and it's like a power thing where there's literally nothing
monster.
She can do. That's part of it too, is that it's not even human. That's even more humiliating and degrading.
Oh, Jesus.
You know,
Christ, set it all on fire.
Like, and you know, and there are women who are into that. Like, but it's something that I saw when I was at a young age. I must have been like 14, 15 the first time I saw a cover, and the girl had her legs spread and there was a tentacle in there.
Oh my God.
And I just was like, what? Like, I just remember stopping and just being like, what?
I consider myself pretty depraved, and I had no idea.
You really aren't, because there's been a few things that I've brought up that you didn't know what I was talking about.
I feel like we might have talked about tentacle porn before.
We may have.
And I promptly shut it all out. Because here I am again being outraged and horrified. And
I'm not going to say all of hentai is like that, but a lot of it, I would say the majority of hentai is a focus on virginal or at least innocent girls that are like, there is a lot of like signaling that they're super young. Not necessarily underage, but you really get that vibe sometimes. And they're usually being put in a situation where they're being outright abused or just being like used in this way. It's really questionable.
And it's all animated?
Yeah.
Wow. I guess, I like to say that I don't kink shame, that's what I like to say. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I actually do what I say, but I like to say it. Good Lord.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, like, there are things that I like that really clash with my feminist sensibilities. So I'll definitely be, like, turned on by something and then go, Tosh, why? Why? Girl, what's that about? And to a degree, you can't help that, like, you like what you like. And hentai is one of those where I'm like, sometimes I am a little turned on, but most of the time I'm just like, oh, who did this? Who do I speak to about this?
Who is your manager?
And there was this amazing shirt that was popped up in Miles's. You know how Facebook will do targeted ads that are bizarrely specific? Mm-hmm. This fucking shirt. I actually used this as the intro to a Dark Tower episode because it was so baffling.
Oh, I saw a couple of those he posted because you kept teasing him saying that you were going to use it for the podcast.
I did use it. It said, I love anime, but Jesus always comes first. So turn down the hentai, you turkey.
Who was wearing that shirt.
I don't know what even is that? And but the thing that got me is that every 3 words is a different font and a different color.
Yeah, I saw that one. One was like rainbow.
Yeah, it's like Comic Sans and shit. Like, Anyway, big sidebar for hentai. So now Sylvester's in on this shit, and we'll see how that goes.
And she threatens him too because she's like, "I know what you've been doing in here." Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we go to Theresa, I think, in her fabulous silver tray of cigarettes. And
she's having some call that she's like, yes, I understand the urgency.
She's having a big deal call with some shady characters that we don't get to see.
I really feel like this is the show trying to make me think that Teresa's on some shit and it's not her at all.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, we get the reveal towards the end from Elsie.
Yeah.
That Theresa is on some shit.
I feel like
we just don't know which shit.
I just feel like there's no way that Theresa is that sloppy that somebody can figure out she's the one receiving this information in like 3 minutes.
So you think that she maybe got set up?
I don't know if she got set up. If Elsie's lying, Elsie's mistaken.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know.
All right. So you think the show was trying to trick you?
I think
Mislead you, we'll say, to be generous.
I don't fucking trust anybody. I don't trust the show. I don't trust you.
You don't trust me?
No, ma'am.
I would never lead you wrong or misdirect you or tell you were mistaken with a theory that you actually nailed. I would never do any of those things.
All right, so can we talk about fucking Smallwood?
Yes, we can. And are we going to call him Smallwood forever? Because I love it.
That's how I think of him in my head. Because that's really, it feels right. Mr. Smallwood.
Also later, the way that Tessa Thompson's character looks at him after he's pissing, God. I feel like Smallwood is completely appropriate.
Agreed. So, Mr. Smallwood is having a great day.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Yeah.
He's got a tray of fruit and cheese that makes me want to turn this podcast off right now. And go live my life properly.
Yeah, he's in the middle of like a 5-day tantrum.
Apparently, he called in. And Teresa's like, hey, so you look great for somebody who's super, super sick. And we need you back to fill some continuity holes that have been created by Ford's, storyline that he shat all over yours and replaced with his. And Mr. Smallwood is like, fuck you. He crushed my delicate genius and I can no longer creatively get it up. I am impotent, and I also...
He calls himself flaccid. Which was like, oh, dude, no.
Not a good enough reason to use the word flaccid. And I just can't get over what a fucking diva he is. Yeah. It's pretty great, actually. He's very convincing with it. Like, this is a part that could easily be overplayed and made to be straight comedy. But he manages to underplay it just enough that it's funny, but also... feels really real and like this guy would be a fucking nightmare to work with. Yeah,
he's completely sells this sort of tortured, underappreciated artiste, being forced to work with corporate shills who don't understand his vision, And if he's going to have to take a couple of days off and drink margaritas, then that's what he's going to have to do. And everybody else will just have to deal.
I love that she taunts him because he says something about the raw essence of me, and she says something like
of me,
right? The years of my life squeezed down to their essence, the raw pulp of truth. And as he's saying that, he's exchanging his empty glass for
he doesn't
a new
miss
one.
a beat with the glass either.
my truth in one transcendent narrative. And she says, is that where the Ouroboros came in? Which I don't know what that means. What is Ouroboros?
Shit, I know what that is.
I'm looking at this.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up too. Once we read it, though, we're both going to be like, oh, that's what that is. Because it's something that we know.
Oh, no, there's a Reddit. Okay, I got to get off here because it's going to have spoilers. I'm out.
All right, wait, let me see.
Apparently, I don't know that we're supposed to understand that yet, I think is the thing.
All right, hang on.
Because it looks like people were all asking that question because they didn't get it.
Hang on. Let me. Oh. Oh my God, these fucking these Reddit things just cracked me up. The first one is just someone, they just tagged it, a relentless fucking experience. Oh, is that the snake eating itself? I think they're spelling it wrong. I think
I don't know. Well, let's move on.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Keep looking. So, yeah, then he tries to be like, oh, keep pushing me and I'll quit. And she's like, fuck you, no you won't. You're way, way too invested in your ego to give up a position like this doing what you do.
Okay.
Like, get over yourself.
It is the snake eating itself and sort of like the infinity sign. That's what that is. Okay. So, that's when our mysterious, attractive stranger strolls in.
Not yet. No, it's not.
After she tells him that he's going to enjoy his...
she leaves, and then we go back to Teddy and the man in black.
I thought that after Theresa left, she walked to the bar.
I think she is walking... I think when it picks up, when it opens again. But I'm watching it right now.
Oh, okay, okay. I must be behind you. All right.
So, yeah, this is when Teddy and Man in Black roll up on the, bluff overlooking the camp.
Okay.
And this is when he says he's given you some extra vinegar and taken away some sense. Because he just wants to go up in there like that. And then they see a couple of dudes in uniform. And they look at each other and they're like, well, all right then. And stroll into camp wearing these uniforms that seem to fit them pretty well, actually.
Lucky for them, lucky.
Right? Unfortunately, James Marsden has a very, very recognizable face because he's very pretty. So these dudes that they walk past totally recognize him and call him out and draw on him.
Right.
And they tell him that there's no way that Wyatt did all of that himself. And he's very much believing that he had nothing to do with it then. But later, when they're tied up, it seems like maybe he did have something to do with it after all.
So what did you think of this scene?
The kind of flashback moment? I don't know what to think.
All right, so where were they?
Where were he and Wyatt? Let's jump back real quick because the way that this is cut, I want to be able to watch that moment.
Okay.
While we're talking about it, and it cuts back before he has the flashback. It cuts back to Smallwood. And that's where he sees.
Oh, right, for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. I got so fucked up. That's such a weird cut, but okay.
Yeah, it's bouncing back and forth a lot right here. And she, I think she knows exactly who he is as soon as he walks up to her. I think she already knew. Mm-hmm. But she lets him do this because she's trying to kind of get the size of him, pun intended. And he just plays into it so well and so easily. And so it's so easy. It's just so easy.
Yeah. Plus he's hammered.
So he plays drunk really well. Too, because you can go too far with it, and he just does that. I'm over effusive. I'm leaning forward a little too much. My eyes are almost closing every time I'm not talking, like I'm on the edge of falling asleep every instant. He does it really, really well. But yeah, this little conversation, she's asking him why he doesn't go into the park and indulge himself, and says, oh, I guess you just don't want to lose control. And he's like, well, probably I've been trained to not want to lose control because of what I do. And, then rails against the small-minded people constraining him and breathing down his neck, programming things to go off script, which she's like, oh, word? They go off script? That's just how she says it, too. She says, oh, word? It's actually W-E-R-D in her script. But yeah, finally, the bartender comes over and says, hey, I'm cutting you off and delivering a message to get your shit together. And she's
That's embarrassing for him.
Right? And she's like, well, seems like you're pretty busy, so I'm a bounce. Lol. And says, look me up later. And he's like, well, I don't know your name. Okay, bye. And instead of allowing himself to be cut off, he grabs a bottle from behind the bar and runs away.
And storms off.
Because he's such a little brat. Baby needs his bot.
We all do. Well, some of us do. And then it goes to Elsie and Bernard. Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, I got this all out of order.
See, I'm saying, it is cut weirdly. It worked while I was watching it. I don't feel like it was jarring during the viewing
it didn't feel like it at all. No.
But talking about it is weird. And this is the kind of show where a lot of times I'll cover a whole character's arc for a show in one and not worry about watching it. But, I like to see things while we're talking about them because there's so many little bits that I want to make sure I mention that I'll forget.
Right.
If it's not in front of my face. So, yeah. Elsie is talking about how she's going to use their gratitude at figuring out that somebody's trying to commit corporate espionage to get herself a better room and Mesa bar access.
Yeah, which I guess is the fancy pants place we just left. So everybody can't go hang out there.
I really want to know what the setup is for working here because it feels like everybody is super isolated from the world. Mm-hmm. And I'm just really curious about how that works,
You know what else I didn't think of when I was watching it? But when Sizemore is trying to, kick his game to Tessa Thompson, whose character's name I cannot remember, he ask her about being a tourist, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not all employees hanging out up there.
Right,
Which seems weird.
That it's not all employees?
Mm-hmm. Because the employees seem to be so isolated.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Well, I guess I didn't think of it that way. When I said isolated, I just meant from anyone who isn't a paying customer, I guess.
Okay.
The fact that they're able to go and hang out at places where there are other guests doesn't really surprise me. But Bernard, talking to his wife had to do that thing. And they clearly are in these weird dorms made of cement and shit.
Okay, I see what you mean.
So that's the part that I'm just so when you take this job, you're agreeing to essentially move out of your house? Which is a big deal, you know what I mean? Doesn't seem like anyone here has relationships that they're currently in with somebody back home.
Right. And Bernard has been here for 10 years?
I don't remember how long, but that sounds like it could be right. Long enough. I really enjoy the texture that they give Bernard. His suit looks like it's knitted almost. Mm-hmm. It's this really rich looking textured navy fabric, and then his beard, and it's not really fully trimmed all the time, so he's got the kind of up on the cheeks thing, and he has vests on all the time that are marled or he's got a lot of there's a lot of warmth to the way that they dress him versus how everyone else is dressed.
Yeah, and he's always got a tie on. And
yeah. He's still wearing the navy blue that most of them seem to wear. Mm-hmm. But it's not, the textures just set him apart a little bit from everyone.
And he's kind of dressed like this whenever we see him, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He always kind of has this blue thing going on.
I think so. They all seem to wear blue a lot, or black, or, just heavy colors.
Is anybody else wearing black? Well, I don't want to get stuck on that.
There was a previous episode where, like, not this episode, but Theresa wore black, like a black blazer and pants and things a couple times.
Okay.
So yeah, after his convo with her is when he goes up in the elevator into, what is it, 17? District 17?
Mm-hmm. Or Sector 17 or something.
Right. This, okay. For those of you who are patrons, if you have listened to my most recent Unspooked episode, I do special spooky episodes in October to celebrate Halloween. And there was a series that I did recently where what I do is find true stories, like, true in quotes, who knows if they're true, but true sounding and well-told stories from real people online, and then I just read them. And I cut in some music and sound effects and things like that. The one that I did most recently was one of my favorites ever because the stories were wild. And they're all from the perspective of someone who works in a national park, in this really remote national park, in search and rescue. And one of the things that he mentions that nobody talks about because it makes everybody really uncomfortable and also would lead to investigations and things happening, an invasion of the area that they are not interested in, like, initiating. There are staircases in the woods. Just different kinds of staircases. Sometimes they're metal, sometimes they're brick, sometimes they're wood. Sometimes they look like they've been there a long time. Sometimes they look like they just got put there and there isn't even a leaf on them. And he says that he was told when he started, when he was being given orientation, you are going to see these, just ignore them. Don't go near them. Don't touch them. Don't talk about them with people. Just ignore them because you're going to come across them, and it's not super frequent, but it's going to happen, and you just need to learn that that's part of the job and that it's not something that you need to get involved in because we don't know what they do or what they are, and we don't want to take on that risk. So just don't go near them because they will be gone. You'll walk down a path and you'll go straight off the path a bit and you'll see one. And then you'll go back to that same spot a few hours later to show someone and it won't be there anymore. This thing that he comes up in the woods is just reminded me of that so hard that there's this fucking elevator that just pops up out of the ground and he steps off it, and as he walks away, it sinks back into the brush behind him, never to be seen again. And it just made me go, so are there staircases to come out of, like, the upstairs for our actual human overlords to check on us in the woods? Is that what's happening? And maybe the ones covered in leaves that look like they've been there a long time, somebody just forgot to shut that shit down. Like, oops, my bad. Or the gears broke and they just didn't fix it. And they were like, oh, we'll leave it there. This will be an interesting study to see how they react.
Meanwhile, the park rangers are walking by like, that doesn't look like anything to me.
Nope, don't see it. Don't even know what you mean. Stairs in the woods? That makes no sense. What are you talking about? Moving on.
Every once in a while, a park ranger will glitch and you won't see him anymore. There'll be a new park ranger in his spot the next day.
Yeah, that, like, if you're a patron, I'm still working on getting everything up on the site, but, like, get at me if you want the Dropbox link so that you can listen to that episode, because those stories are really, really freaky. And, you know, who knows if they're real or not? Probably not. But damn, whoever wrote them really did a number. They got something good there. And I almost wish that they had, like, kept it to themselves long enough so that they could get that shit published properly. Yeah. Instead of just putting it online. Because they just really captured this sort of, like, low level paranoia that I think a lot of us have about the woods. Mm-hmm. And
oh, that shit's not low level.
Well, there's like there's a paranoia there that's really like primal in the, you know, just staying alive. But then there's the I'm alone and literally anything nuts could happen to me out here and nobody would fucking know and nobody would fucking believe me. Mm-hmm. And that is the thing that gets me going in circles, like chasing my own tail. Where would you believe yourself? If something happened to you that was nuts in the woods with a fucking staircase and an alien and whatever, and you turned around and there was no one there, and then you had to walk back before you got to tell anybody about it, by the time you got to another human being, would you have talked yourself out of believing that shit happened?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, I want to know how much has happened to people that they never say to anybody. Because it's just too fucking much to wrap your own brain around, and you're not going to try and wrap somebody else's brain around it, you know? Yeah. So what I'm saying is this Bernard is an alien. And they are probing people, hosts. It's happening.
It's happening right now, sheeple. Wake up.
They're in fucking spacesuits and shit going like they must seem like aliens. Except they just look like people.
Well, we don't really know what aliens look like. Maybe they do look like people.
Maybe they do. Like, that's part of it. Some of the stories in there are people who come across what looks like another hiker. And he's in regular clothes and he's hiking in front of them and seems like a person. And then the guy turns around and he doesn't have a face.
Oh, to see that, I don't care for.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to stop you right now. I'm just going to have to we're going to have to just know. We're going to nip this right in the bud.
There's just nothing there.
Nope, we're done here.
Yep.
We're done.
There was one where the guy turned around and he had a face.
Nope.
But
Nope, we're done. Guys, if you want to listen, email her for the Dropbox link.
Yeah, all right. You should listen to those, though, Rashawn. Like, listen to them when you're around people. Mm-hmm. Listen to it on the way to work, for example, when you're going to be surrounded in an office, not on the way home when you may be, you know, on a train that's, like, not full or in the dark. Don't do it then. On the way to work is the good time. Anyway, so here's where he stumbles across. Did I fucking say? I'm sorry. Did I say? Yes, I did. That this was Ford as a little kid.
Yes, you did.
Did I fucking say that or did I not say that? I think I said it, guys. No wonder somebody tweeted at me that they could not take it and they had to pull over and freak out. And they said that they were laughing, and I was like, what did I say that was funny? And I guess they were just laughing because I got it. But I thought I must be, like, so off that it was just hilarious. And I was like, well, if I'm that off, I don't know what it is. Like, what?
Nope, you called this one, ma'am. First time you saw him.
It's, like, really kind of almost like, it's almost weirder to be right because the things that I thought made it incorrect still are making me question it because like the uniform.
What things did you think were incorrect?
Like the fact that we're supposed to be so far into the future is the way that I keep thinking of this, but I'm not sure of that. WestWorld might just be an alternate version of our reality, and we're not really that far further into the future. Mm-hmm. But like if we are in the future, which I think we are. With this kind of tech, I'd say we have to be at least 150 years. The Anthony Hopkins' character would have been at this age, during the year, what? 2100? So that means that they had the same damn school uniforms 100 years from now, which is not totally unreasonable. I think we are very slow to change on some things.
I think when you first suggested that the little boy was Ford as a child, and I said something like, well, how old do you think Ford is? Why is he dressed like that?
And that's like, that was the thing that made me kind of go, I don't know.
But also keep in mind that even if this is happening, is it as far in the future as you think, look at the way all the characters are dressed now.
Exactly. So. That was the other thing. I actually meant to mention that last episode, that they are all wearing clothing that feels totally like now.
Right.
So.
And the show hasn't given us any indication.
Yeah.
Well, not much. There's like you said earlier, we don't know anything about the outside world. Mm-hmm. The only things we've learned were a couple of tidbits that the man in black said.
Right.
In the conversation with Ford and Teddy. And was there another time? Well, no, that might be the only time. We learned about the outside world when at the campfire, when that guy thanks the man in black.
Oh, right.
But he doesn't really tell us about the world, just that he knows the man in black in the outside.
Right.
So Bernard finds Ford's little robot family. Mm-hmm. Thoughts, ma'am?
I just don't know why you'd want to do this. Like, first, Ford's dad seems like the worst.
And how about that he made him the worst?
Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, I had to add back in that he was an alcoholic and abusive. But, gotta do it.
Because
why, though?
Arnold was nice enough to make a very flattering version of your one happy childhood memory. And you decided that could not stand.
Yep. Which is kind of amusing because Arnold's the one who doesn't like people. Mm-hmm. But yet he decided to be kind about this for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
That's a freaky moment. Jesus Christ, I wasn't ready. They're just like, oh yeah, he's got a black metal skull and his face splits apart like a fucking, I don't even know what to compare it to. There's nothing to be said that's anything that relates to things that I know of.
I love that's the phrase too.
Turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And when he comes back to get, they have the moment where the camera's just on him with his face still split apart and he blinks. Mm-hmm. He's just waiting patiently, blinking with his face split up, and I'm just like, ugh.
So,
no.
When Bernard first walks in on the family, though, the dad is, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And he grips Bernard up, and Bernard starts, freeze
cease
program.
Motor functions.
Yes, and it doesn't fucking work.
Bernard panicking is not something I like to see. He starts to try and pull out his glasses. That's his first defense is to reach in, oh, let me get my glasses and my notebook. Guy, does this seem like a situation where your glasses and your notebook are going to be helpful? Yeah, so here's some people that nobody can say anything to except Ford, and that feels really not okay.
How creepy is it that he's just standing there? He's just standing there.
And the thing, Ford says, oh, you can give me my little indulgence of my past because I'm sure you'd want to see your son if you could. And I'm like, yeah, but he doesn't need to make his son out of any sort of control. Why does Ford need these people to only be under his jurisdiction ever? It's not even like anyone's coming across them. Bernard comes here as the first person to have found them. So why is Ford even worried? You know? You do know. You shut your mouth.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know hardly
Get out of
anything.
here. Also, I don't like the way that Ford keeps stroking his brother's head. It really makes me uncomfortable. Like, deeply. Like, he strokes his head and then, like, slides his hand down the back of the kid's neck in this way that I was just like,
Too much. Too much. So
just
you said
set
earlier...
some alarm bells off.
You said earlier in the episode, though, that you weren't sure that these were the anomalies.
I'm not. No. Because there's something about... Something somebody said makes me think the maze is underground.
Oh, what you mean in the show, or somebody said to you on Twitter or something?
No, show. And I don't know why I thought that. Maybe it's just because he showed that kid that church that's sunken, so I thought and I thought that was where the maze was.
Right. Speaking of the maze, did we talk about Teddy telling the Native American story about what the maze is?
No, we didn't.
And that happens when they're riding up to Pariah, right?
Right.
All right, let's stop.
So that's happened already.
Yeah, let's stop and talk about that.
Well, let me just finish that thought with
sorry. Go ahead.
Because I had thought the maze was underground, so there's certainly a possibility that they're in that sector, but they're just not up on the surface.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? So he ran across these guys who fit the bill and seemed to be in the right place, but, I don't know what their technology's like. You'd think that if they were underground, that would show up.
Aren't the labs underground?
But I don't know what anything is, Rashawn.
Didn't we see Renard come up an elevator?
Yeah, but, I don't know that he entered from the lab.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? There could be another place that you go and you get brought to an entrance.
Oh.
I don't know how this goes.
That sounds complicated.
Yeah, this whole thing is a little tiny bit complicated, though. You think? That sounds complicated. Oh, you know what? You're right. That can't be it. That's just a step too far.
The writers were like, let's stop here because this is getting complicated.
So, Teddy talking about the legend.
So, what does he says that there's a man who keeps dying over and over again, but claws his way back to life, and then vanquishes all of his enemies, finally, then builds a house
in the center of a maze.
Center of the maze, and he makes it so complicated that no one can get to him.
Right.
Huh.
Right? Which, maybe there isn't a maze.
Like a literal maze?
Yeah, maybe it's just a metaphor for, you gotta go through a lot of shit. But is it Ford? Or Arnold? Or is it anything? Is it?
Do you think that it is... All right, let's see. So if it's literal, then there would have to be an actual house with an actual person in the center of it all.
Right.
Say that is the case. What does that look like to you, do you think?
I mean, if it's literal, then that's what it looks like. It looks like a house in the middle of a maze.
There?
But
who's the man?
It's got to be Arnold, right? I don't know. Wyatt? Is Wyatt Arnold? Are they the same person?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what anything is.
Okay, what if it's just a metaphor? Then, right? What is that? This motherfucker.
What? I hear sirens.
No, honey, that's the wind.
Oh, shit.
That is the wind that you hear outside of my house.
Man, that is some gale force happening.
Yeah.
If it's a metaphor, then I figure it's just the, puzzles of finding out how to get to him.
Okay.
Of, getting through one barrier after another.
Excuse me.
God.
Sorry, I sneezed.
That was so delicate. Achoo! You're like a cartoon. Patty mayonnaise. So, yeah, I figure that, maybe because Mr. fucking Man in Black over here is like, I want the maze. And like, maybe you're doing the maze already, dumb shit.
Oh, shit. Look at you.
Don't even know.
Maybe you're doing the maze right
maybe
now.
You're doing it.
Huh.
And doing it well.
Fuck. God damn it.
I can't help myself.
All right, so
let's go to the acid rain on Sweetwater.
Yeah, this disturbing little family vignette ends.
Yeah.
And your man, that's your man.
Smallwood?
Just pissing all over everything.
He is really going full tilt to Disgrace Town. It's really like, it goes on too long.
It goes on forever.
Way too long. And not like in a way like that I feel like the writers messed up, but more like it's perfect because here's a drunk man who doesn't know when a joke is not working and isn't funny and needs to be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I am declaring that this park is my stage and I shall do with it what I please. Oh my God. This is Charlotte Hale.
Charlotte, that's her name.
And she's just leaning against the wall looking at him in this, oh, sweetie.
Yeah. It's another really embarrassing moment for him. But he completely brings this on himself, so there's very little sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pissed all over where people have to work, and I cannot abide that.
Yep. And he's pissing from such a height, there's no way people aren't getting splashed.
Yeah, that's the thing, too, is they don't move back far enough, in my opinion.
Nope.
I feel like people need to be moving way back.
Yep.
Maybe the little thing is, I don't know, maybe it's got risers up that we can't see around the perimeter.
Maybe.
But I feel like people did not react in the appropriate manner. There should have been some obscenities, more than just Stubbs being like, dude, what the fuck,
Yep.
There should have been actual, like, yelling. Like, dude,
Agreed.
what the fuck?
Agreed.
But, everybody seems to take it in stride, which is
I want somebody
upsetting.
to chuck their remote at him.
Something.
Somebody who's got, like, one of those little iPad type dealies just to throw it.
Yeah.
And just hit him right in the fucking dick.
And yeah, there's just nothing. They're just standing around like, oh, he's pissing on the thing again. Maybe that's it. Maybe this isn't the first time.
He's just done this. Like, every time he doesn't get his way, they know this is coming now.
Maybe this is his loop.
Oh my God. We do have loops for Sean.
We do.
Why you gotta bring that shit up right now? I just started therapy. I'm not ready to talk about this.
So, for a split second, we go to Bernard, who, when he was in the house with Ford and his family, Ford says something like, he says that, Arnold built these for me. But doesn't he say these are the only ones left?
I think so, yeah.
So we see Bernard, and he's asking, like, what does he ask for? The number of original
first generation hosts still in rotation.
That's what he asked for. And it's a pretty big number. It's like 40 something, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then he starts, does he ask anything else before he starts scrolling?
I don't think so. No. It cuts right from him asking that and looking through it all to back to Teddy.
Okay.
And, they're heating up that brand.
Oh, that was horrible.
Yeah, right?
And
I'm like, burns are just something that I can't.
Yeah. And then the sound that it makes, that sizzle when it's human flesh, it's just, even when it's not human flesh, it's still upsetting. But human flesh is even more so. And the brand is, guess what?
It's the maze.
It's the maze.
I love the look on the Man in Black's face, too, because he does not get shaken up easily. But he is clearly very concerned here.
Yeah. And he is bargaining for Teddy, right? because I guess there's, he understands that he can only get but so hurt. But he needs Teddy to get to Wyatt, which is his primary directive right now. So he's offering, like, I can pay, I can make it worth your while. And they don't want to hear none of that. And then they're telling Teddy, you're a traitor and a murderer. And
then, boom.
Yeah.
So you had asked me, where does it look like they are? It doesn't, like, I can't tell. It almost looks like a cleaned up Pariah. But it's hard to tell because it could be Sweetwater too. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like clapboard buildings, and Pariah had a lot more like stucco and adobe and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, he was clearly like shooting his own dudes in the back and in the face and in the head. So he's been like, he seems shaken by it too. It's not like he's been hiding it. It seems like when he remembers this, it's the first time he's remembered it.
Yeah, it does. It does seem like, what they used to call it, like a recovered memory. Mm-hmm. But then once he realizes and remembers, he fucking just kills everybody.
He loses his mind.
The man in black is like, we should go. And he's like, no, they'll just follow us.
And he's like, so you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm just going to get this machine gun. Give me 7 minutes.
Yeah.
No, 10 full minutes to just massacre this entire camp full of people.
Yeah. Because
this goes on and on and on and on and on.
And it's like the flashback of when the last time I massacred a bunch of people gave me this idea. I'll just do it again.
Yep. And it's almost like he's like, oh, I guess I did this already, so my blood is already all over my hands.
Doesn't matter anymore.
It's fine.
Like, no big deal.
I broke the seal.
And then he walks out of this fucking scene like a goddamn gangster.
Mm-hmm.
He stops
you don't
to pick
know
up
me
his
at
hat.
all.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
What if Teddy's Arnold?
He could be. I mean,
if there's
we don't
one
know him
person
at all
on this show that I would think was Teddy or was Arnold the least, it would be Teddy, because he just seemed like he's just got
this Teddy,
nothing going on.
Or the original, like
the original, like Teddy the build, I guess.
Okay.
Like, I would never think that Teddy was anything, and that would be kind of amazing if it turned out that he was like the guy all the time.
Well, he's very different than how he was when he was introduced. Teddy, I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, it's all of our well, not all of our characters, but the ones that we care about, Maeve and Teddy and Dolores, who we don't see at all this episode.
Dolores, yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Are all very different than when we first met them, but just in very different ways. Mm-hmm. Like, we're watching Dolores, who seems like she's going through something, right? Like, is she coming to be conscious in her own kind of way, or what's going on with that? Mm-hmm. And then we have Maeve, who seems like she's going through this thing too. That's,
right.
Is she... All right, let's talk about Maeve for just a second. I know this is running long, but... So, what do you think about Maeve? Do you think she's, like, making her way towards our consciousness?
I don't know, because I don't trust that anything isn't being orchestrated by somebody. Mm-hmm. So it could be, and I want to believe that, because that's just such a classic tale. Mm-hmm. And also, I like Maeve, and I would like for her to be free.
Right.
But also, everyone seems to be a tool of somebody.
Yeah.
Even the real humans seem to be.
Right. Yeah. And what we get, what the next scene is getting ready to be with Elsie, and what she discovers, as far as who's been sending the messages.
Right.
that makes it even more cloudy.
Mm-hmm.
Because she says that someone's been talking to the host.
I don't know, man. I don't know, okay? Can you stop asking me?
All right, I'll stop asking. We'll just talk about the end of the episode. I won't put you on the spot for any more theories or predictions. So she goes to this, what I think is the creepiest room.
This is pretty creepy. Like, I don't understand why she feels safe doing this alone. When he asks her, "Are you alone?" and she just is like, "Yeah, I'm alone, whatever, bye." And I'm like, girl, do you not see that this would be millions of dollars lost to somebody and that your life would mean nothing in the greater scheme of things?
It's weird because at first when I watched this, I was like, oh, well, she just doesn't really have a sense of fear because nothing, the host can't hurt them. Mm-hmm. And everything else is just work.
Right.
So she just, doesn't worry about her well-being. But she's already thinking that she's on the path of something really huge. Right. So to my mind, that should make her be a little bit more careful.
Right.
But,
Agreed.
So, and also this room is upsetting to me because I don't like old, weird storage rooms with miscellaneous junk and
fucking masks staring at you.
And like just a bunch of creepy shit. All like, why is it in a storage room? Why can't you just get rid of it if you don't need it anymore? Mm-hmm. But she finds this thing that's been used. There go my lights again. That's been sending out the signal, and she's able to like basically just download all the info right onto her little tablet deal.
That's the one thing about this tech that I really enjoy is that, somebody can jump you and do whatever, but like you are able to transfer information so fast that they can do what they want to you, but somebody else has got a hold of that shit already.
Right.
Which I really appreciate.
Yeah. So it seems like that won't hold up the story, right?
Right. Unless they are able to go in through her tools and like somehow send an amended version of the information, which I guess they could, but I don't know if that overrides whatever
was previously sent.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like once you sent the text, I can send you a text like, LOL, just kidding. But I still sent the first text.
Sorry, that was for somebody else.
Right. Just disregard all that important information I just dumped to your phone. So Bernard goes to see Theresa again, and he is clearly about to just spill all the beans.
Yeah, he is. She catches him just in time if it turns out that it is, in fact, Theresa. Mm-hmm. And on the one hand, I was very glad of that. And on the other hand, I don't think that I believe that it's Theresa, so I kind of wish he had told her because I feel like it could have been helpful for her to know. And now he's not going to tell her, and she's the one that could have helped him. Which is exactly what somebody who's fucking around would want, right? For people to not be telling each other. So, well done, I guess.
And then we go back to Maeve in the lab.
Yep.
And I think this is where she gets her power up, right?
Well, actually, wait. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to my thing won't work for me to navigate. Oh. Why won't it work? Oh, there we go.
It starts with them explaining to her about how her attributes work.
Right.
And they're breaking down the 24-point scale.
Her charm is at a 17. I love it.
Yeah.
Don't act so surprised. Or, sorry, 18 for charm. My bad. I didn't mean to shortchange you, honey. Courage and loyalty, both high.
And she says something about the loyalty, too, later when they're fixing it that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
Just take that down a notch, because that hasn't been working out for me. What did she say? People have been abusing it?
Yeah. Man, that is a really good line, isn't it?
Yeah. She also has really good posture.
Well, I feel like they all do once they're in here.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
That, like, because it's actually occurred to me a few times that as an actor, your core muscles must get quite a workout sitting that way all the time for every scene.
Yeah.
Like,
and of course, like a host wouldn't slump, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it was part of the character or whatever. So they're talking. She wants them to raise her shit and give her what she needs. And Sylvester, no. You must be crazy.
I love him trying to be like, oh, well, you know, it would just be flagged. So, you know, we can't. And she's like, oh, that's interesting. Because Felix said you could do all of that shit. And I'm pretty sure.
Doesn't she say your friend here says?
Yep.
And like she threw that shit right back out.
Yep. Oh, she's great. But yeah, she's like, I'm pretty sure that you know that too, since you've been whoring out some of the hosts. I'm an entrepreneur myself.
Dirty bird.
I love it so much.
He's a filthy, disgusting specimen.
Yep. I want to know how she knows that.
I just assumed Felix told her.
Maybe.
Also, maybe some of the times when they thought she was in sleep mode and she wasn't, maybe she heard stuff.
That was kind of what I was thinking, was that sleep mode, she's heard stuff, and maybe it's happened to her and she remembers.
Oh, that's disgusting to think about.
You know, like, I don't know.
Ew.
But there's many ways that she could know this.
Yeah. When she puts the scalpel to him earlier, she says that one of the things she says she knows about him is that he would fuck her over.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I know she meant it. It felt like she meant it one way, but I thought she was going to say that you want to fuck me. Is what I thought she was going to say.
Same.
Because I feel like, of course, he wants to fuck her.
Yep. Yeah, probably a little more now too.
Yeah. Oh, you're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Hell. Mm-hmm. So then it goes back to Elsie talking to Bernard, and if you have it up, I'll let you take the lead because it's important, like the details that she says.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he calls her up. He like the cement with like the weird plants on it and stuff in this place. Just it rubs me the wrong way. It really is like, oh hey, there's life and it's normal here, but also it's very much not.
Yeah, and you know that plant's not real.
Well, like, that's the thing is I think that they are real. Like, I think that these are the kind of people that would put forth the effort to plant real plants to kind of try and soften the edges of this incredibly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. So she says...
This is fake.
Do you? That'd be interesting. I'd like to talk to the director and see what they thought was going on there. She says that someone's using the old bicameral control system to reprogram the woodcutter. Theresa, she says, but she's not the only one. Someone else has been going in there and retooling things on hosts. The newer ones don't have receivers. That was the thing I was thinking of. So it has to be older models. And she says, but these modifications are serious, changing loops, breaking loops. Some of their changes are to their prime directives. They could lie to us, maybe even hurt us or some of the guests. He asks who issued the modifications, and she says, I don't know. The best I could tell is Arnold. And he's like, he's dead. And she says, yeah, well, he's a pretty fucking prolific coder for a dead guy. Whatever argument he was having with Ford doesn't seem to be over. So yeah, he says he'll be in his office. She's going to come back and like show him everything.
Mm-hmm.
She sent him to like that stuff, I assume already, but they're going to look at it together. And then we cut to Ford, who is talking to his child self because he went to play ball. And the dog was dead.
Dog's dead. Chasing after a rabbit.
The kid tells him that it went after it and then, you know, oh, I don't know. I just found him like that, basically. And he's like, yeah, you're fucking lying. Tell me what actually happened. And the kid says, I don't know. And he says, that's not good enough, Robert, which is so weird to hear him calling him by his
it's the
own name.
first time he does it, too.
It's not.
He just,
he does it at the house.
Oh,
too.
right. But any other time, it's just boy.
Yeah. So then he said, someone told me to put it out of its misery. He says, who told you? And the kid says, a voice. Whose voice? Arnold. And he's like, just not saying anything.
Yeah.
At this point. He said it wasn't its fault. It was made that way. And I could help it. Help it? And he looks at him for the first time this whole time when he says, like, the question, if it was dead, it couldn't hurt anything anymore.
So,
and Ford looks quite disturbed by this.
I think this might be the most affected he seemed.
Yep.
By anything that's transpiring.
Yep.
So
yeah, and I mean,
that was a lot of information in like a really quick 2 scenes.
Yeah. The question really here is like, does Arnold think, and I'm, still going with Arnold's not dead, or if he is dead, there's a version of him still alive and functioning. Does he believe that human beings are the adversary now? Like the next wave of evolution are these beings that have way more capacity upstairs, as Felix points out. And human beings are by nature going to hurt things because that's how they're made.
Right.
Because it seems like that is really borne out by the evidence. What we call history. Yeah. So
let me ask you a question. Do you remember what the deal was with Wyatt? How he went crazy and all that?
They said that he started to hear voices. And like his followers also started to hear voices, and they thought that they were hearing the voice of God. And they went nuts. Basically.
And Wyatt began to tell people that there was something new.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that's gotta be it, right? Like just moving on, like humans are over.
You guys are so last year.
Right? Like that is just passé, and I'm kind of embarrassed for you, actually. Like, I mean, you can do what you want to do, but just don't go to the club like that, because we're not going to let you in. Even if you're wearing an adorable pink Chanel suit. Oh, I forgot about the thing with Maeve, too, where they go in to change her, and then they find out that she's been changed already.
Yep.
Paranoia and self-preservation have been upped. Somebody's already been altering her in an unlogged session. Someone with a fuck ton more privileges than us.
So what do you... I said I wasn't going to ask you anymore.
Yeah.
What do you use?
You did say that.
I did say that, didn't I?
Rashawn.
That was poor planning on my part. Why would I say that?
I mean, it's the same. Like, there's nothing new to be said on my end here.
Okay.
She's being fucked with like everybody's being fucked with. I don't know what to say.
Okay.
You know?
Hard to say who. So, okay. All right. Well, there you go.
And basically, she's just like, well, you can try and back out of this, sweetheart.
So, if her paranoia and self-preservation have already been upped, does that change how you view her behavior so far?
Not really, because it's sort of like that's the question, is whether or not she's becoming conscious because someone is making her. And I already had that suspicion, and that seems to feed right into that.
Oh, okay.
You know? It's weird how the camera zooms right in on her butt crack there for a second. They did that. Did you notice that?
I did not.
This really got up in there. But yeah, he bumps her overall intelligence, and she looks like she just got a hit of heroin or something
really good.
Yeah, which I'm not entirely sure that I would feel that way. Like, I feel like getting a huge bump in perception and intelligence would be crippling, actually. But, you know, what do I know? As somebody who is, I think, above average on intelligence and perception, it's not super. I don't love it. I could just go without. That'd be fine.
I wouldn't know.
Yes, you would.
I do want to mention that Elsie does get snatched.
Oh, right. The snatching.
There's not really much to say about it, except that somebody comes up behind her and grips her up. Now, all right, one last who do you think? Who do you think grabbed Elsie?
I'm trying to think of like the most outlandish person that I could think of. Just be like Smallwood.
Dolores.
Dolores did it. I got no idea.
Old Bill. He's kept downstairs in the basement, right?
That's true. He is. What if it's that guy who's got the gun? Who that really narrows it down, right?
I was just going to say that.
The guy who works in security who was like right there when he peed all over the...
Oh, Stubbs.
Is that his name? That's like a good name.
Yeah, I forget what his first name is. I think his first name is Ashley. That just popped in my head. I have no idea if that's right.
Unfortunate.
I feel like his name might be Ashley Stubbs. That can't be right.
I think that she did make fun of him for his name, though, didn't she?
I think
maybe you're right.
Yeah. So, but that's the episode.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
God, we went on a long time. I need to wrap this up. Yeah. You're at midnight. I'm at 11 o'clock. And I have shit to do. God damn.
It's a good thing that we didn't do our 2-hour marathon ahead of time. Oh, no, we did, though. No, we started super late. That's what it was.
Oh, we did start late.
Yeah.
We didn't start as late as we sometimes do, though.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah, because we nipped it. We stopped because it could have.
Weird, guys. We're a mess. Like, we can have just talked an hour ago, and we get on, and we're like, all right, we're going to get started right away this time, right? Yeah. Oh, real quick, before we do that, though, I need to tell you about this motherfucker that just said this fucking thing to me. And then we're off for an hour and a half easy.
Yep.
It's just... It's not...
I'm sorry. I need to blow the mic out. Oh, shit. All right, kids.
All right. Well, everybody, you guys know where to find us. Come to Facebook.com/unspoiledpod, Twitter @unspoiledshow, Instagram @unspoiledpodcast. You can become a patron at patreon.com/unspoiled. New patrons this week. We've got Sal Karuba, who I believe has been a patron in the past. Rachel, Ashley Munetzi, and Melissa Coons, and Taylor Snellenberger, which is just a name and a half. So welcome to all of you guys. Thank you all so much for pledging and becoming patrons. You're awesome. And I really hope that you guys join us on the Facebook group for patrons, because it's super active. We've got tons going on, lots of conversations. People post all the time, lots of funny things. And there's also, if you are a patron, a spoiler chat that you can get up in and, you know, chat with Rashawn, make fun of me for getting things wrong, which I'm sure you all love to do because you're sick sons of bitches. So, yeah, that's that. Anything you want to add, ma'am?
No, ma'am. I think I'll try to remember to go into the group and find, and I'll post the link for the spoiler chat if I can figure out how to do it. Because it probably got buried in the feed by now.
Yeah, probably.
So I'll see if I can get that up for you guys.
Yay!
All right. Well, ma'am.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening. Thanks, Rashawn, for constantly taunting me. And we will see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.